What's up? It's Jullien Gordon here. I hope you're well, and just want to share my journey in terms of how I achieved freedom by the age of 40. I'm not even 40 yet, but I think that's a good target for absolutely anyone, no matter where you started in life. Honestly, I'll just be real with you. I started from a place of privilege. I'm the son of two doctors, so I had a silver spoon in my mouth. And what I like to say is that I've taken that silver spoon and instead of just feeding myself, I've used it to feed others and give them the knowledge in the game. Because honestly, though my parents were both doctors, they weren't actually free, because there's three elements of freedom. There's first financial freedom, then there's time freedom, but actually even before all of that, you actually have to have mental freedom. And there are people who out there who have financial freedom, but they don't have any time freedom because work is killing them. They're still trading their time for money, or they don't have mental freedom and they don't even realize that they are still stuck. And so I had to break free from my parents' middle class mindset of just be a teacher, doctor, lawyer, engineer, businessman, or businesswoman. I had to break free of that in order to actually achieve freedom. I've never worked a traditional corporate job. I didn't work in nonprofit for 2 years after undergrad and a year and a half after business school. I went to UCLA for undergrad, and I finished there in 3 years because I already saw what that trap was all about, and I saved $25,000 by doing that. Nobody says that it takes 4 years to graduate college. It's just part of the hustle. In fact, most colleges are now measuring their 6-year graduation rate, and they call that on-time graduation. If you graduate in 4 years, they call that early. I talk about that in my book called The Undergrad Railroad. But I created the Freedom School because I just think about my daughter, who's 4 years old now, and I'm like, what is everything that she needs to know in order to be fully free at the age of 18? And I believe that I can teach her all of those things. And while I'm putting all that information together, of course, times are changing, but there's just some basic core principles that you have to have mentally in order to even think about freedom. I want freedom to be a state of mind. It first has to be a state of mind before it actually manifests as your reality. So when I was at UCLA, during my first year, my first experience of entrepreneurship was selling now laters out of my backpack in high school. One day my mom brought me home a jar of like 100 now laters from Costco, and I didn't really eat candy like that, so I went to school and I put them in my backpack and I was slinging them for 25 cents. So I made $25 off that jar, and the jar only cost about $10. And so I came up on $15, and I gave that money back to my mom and told her to give me some more jars. And I kept doing that until I got caught in class and got in trouble for that. And here I am building a business, learning how to make money, not just earn money, because there's a difference between earning money and making money. I was learning how to make money, and I got in trouble for it. And this is why the traditional education system isn't truly set up to help you get free. It's really just set up to help you become a better worker. This is why you go to school from 8 to 3 and then a job from 9 to 5. It's just all training for you to be an employee. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee, but what I want you to know is that we are living in what I call the entrepreneur reality. And the entrepreneur reality means that we are all already entrepreneurs. An employee is simply an entrepreneur with one big client, and that's dangerous, right? That's like sitting on a chair with only one leg. You have all these different expenses coming in, but you only have one source of revenue. I also have to demystify this because a lot of people call their salary income, right? And this is part of the trickery of this whole game. They call salary income, but in a business, income is revenues minus expenses. Revenues minus expenses equals income. So in an individual's life, in an employee's life, your revenues is your salary. Your salary is not your income, that's your revenues. And then you have your living expenses, and then what's left over at the end of the month, that's your actual income. This is why somebody could be making $100,000 and another person be making $60,000, and they could still have the same income because the person who's living on making $60,000 actually lives off of a lot less than the person who's earning $100,000 a year. So this is part of the trickery. On top of that, an employee gets taxed on their revenues, whereas a business gets taxed on their true income. So this is why Warren Buffett pays less taxes and as a percentage than his own secretary. So you got to understand this game. I actually just achieved a major milestone the other day. I bought my mother a home here in New Orleans. I grew up in Oakland, went to UCLA for undergrad, went back up to Palo Alto to Stanford for business school, moved out to Brooklyn, New York, and just moved to New Orleans. And This is part of the strategy in order to not only free myself, but free those that I love. And now I have my matriarch, my wife, and my daughter all together with me here in New Orleans. My mom was on fixed income, and she couldn't sustain that in the Bay Area. So I made a plan to make sure that I could buy her a home here in New Orleans. And that was just like a dream come true for me. But I actually own several properties. I'm not a real estate mogul. Real estate is kind of what I do with my income when I don't know how to reinvest it in the business at the end of the year. I look for a piece of property to put it in, because I don't put money in the banks. I try to avoid that as much as possible. The banks are paying about 0.03% interest right now, and it will literally take you 2,400 years to double your money. The rule is 72. You take 72, divided that by 0.03, and it'll take you 2,400 years to double your money in a bank. So you want your money to be out there working for you, and this is why I put excess resource into real estate. I currently have 5 multifamily homes. One in Brooklyn, that was my first one, a 3-family. Another one, 3 here in New Orleans, one that I live in, and one that my mom lives in, and the tenant pays a lot of that, so she's able to have more breathing room in terms of her fixed income. And then another one in Oakland. So that's where I'm at now. And again, I'm not a real estate mogul. I'm more of I actually am an entrepreneur, and like I said, I created the Freedom School as a place to teach people how to achieve mental freedom first, because you got to start there, then financial freedom, and then time freedom. And so my journey, it really turned for me when I was at UCLA, and I had bought a Mercedes-Benz. Literally, after my freshman year, I bought a Mercedes-Benz because I wanted to show my parents that I was on a path to success just like them, by getting the things that they got faster than they got them. And both of my parents both had Mercedes-Benzes as doctors. So here I was thinking that I was being successful, and 2 weeks after buying the car, it was stolen at gunpoint. It was a used Mercedes-Benz 1990 190E, black with the tan interior, the one you see on the movie Coming to America. But yeah, 2 weeks after buying the car, it was stolen at gunpoint, and that was a huge wake-up call for me. And fortunately, that summer I was an RA, so I had housing and food taken care of, so I was able to still survive, and my life didn't spiral out of control. But I went through a deep space of introspection. I started asking myself some real important questions, like, Jullien, whose definition of success were you living? It was only in hindsight that I could see that I was actually living out my parents' definition of success, right? By trying to get the things that they had faster than they had them. And you can succeed according to your parents' definition of success, but that doesn't mean you'll be happy. You'll make them happy. But you got to know that your joy is your job, and their joy is their job. A lot of people's parents try to live vicariously through them. And I know you might be a mama's boy or daddy's girl or whatnot, but at the end of the day, when you deviate from what your parents desire for you, there's going to be a thick layer of fear, because you're taking a path that's uncertain and unknown to them, right? And they want to protect you. They feel if you are hurt in any way, that it's their fault. But below that thick layer of fear is even a thicker layer of love. And so sometimes you got to make the bold choice to actually deviate from what they think is best for you in the moment, especially after you become an adult, after you're 18 years old. Some people are still majoring in what they're majoring in because of what their parents want. Some people are working in jobs that they don't even want to be in because of what their parents want, so that their parents can go tell their friends, oh, my daughter's a lawyer, my daughter's a doctor. Okay, but is your daughter happy? Is your daughter happy, right? And so as I looked at this entrepreneur reality, I just realized that this was the easiest path for me to live out my purpose. For me, this all comes down to purpose. For me, freedom is actually the ability to live out your purpose on a daily basis. Yeah, there's many different brands of freedom, like, kicking your feet up on the beach and having that laptop lifestyle, being able to work from anywhere, travel the world. For me, at the core is actually being able to live out your purpose on a daily basis. And that's what I seek to help people do by monetizing their movements, by marketing their movements, and then building a business to support that movement. Marketing the movement is literally just the giving, and then the business model, right, is actually the receiving. Yeah, as you give, you shall receive. A lot of people are giving freely, and then they end up depleted they can't keep giving their gift to the world. So the business model is literally just there to support you in receiving so that you can keep on giving. And so that is the work that I do today. And I really believe that we are all created for a purpose, that we come from a creator, and we're all created for a purpose. And your purpose is actually the only thing that you can never, ever fail at, right? You are actually guaranteed success when you pursue your purpose. Why? Because why would your creator create you for a reason and then not give you everything that you absolutely need to actually fulfill that purpose, right? Why would it create you for a purpose and then not give you everything you need to actually fulfill that purpose? That would be actually cruel, and I don't see my creator in that light. And so this is how I've been navigating life, and it's really been a faith walk. It's really been a faith walk as I live out my purpose, and I just want to be a living example that your purpose is not a path of poverty, because that's what a lot of people think, that it's this sacrificial path, but that it's actually a path of abundance. I can't imagine where I'd be if I left business school and just took a traditional job. I don't even think I'd have more money or have a higher net worth than I have. Actually, I don't have a lot of money. All my money's out there working for me. My net worth is doing okay, but I don't keep cash that hard, so don't try to ask me to borrow money because I don't have cash. All my money is actually into assets. Some are liquid that I can go access it, but this is not about stacking a savings account. Cash is not king. Cash is not king, right? Assets are queen, right? Queens produce kings, which are cash flow, and then your pawns is cash. Cash is actually pawn. Okay, you want assets. And I learned that by reading Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was at UCLA. And I just held on to that. I knew immediately that I wasn't buying a single family home, probably ever, maybe later. I knew I wasn't buying a single family home after reading that book, and Robert Kiyosaki breaking it down that an asset is something that puts money into your pocket. There's no point whatsoever that a single family home puts money in your pocket except when you sell it. Therefore, you can no longer use it, right? Even after you paid off the mortgage, you still have property taxes and insurance, and now you're paying maintenance on a home that is actually 30 years old. So once I read that in college, I knew that wasn't going to be my process. And so now I have 5 multifamily homes, and I'm a lot better for it. And that actually has freed me up to a point where if I wanted a single family home, I could get it. But again, the real estate is just the back end of the business. It's what I do with excess cash. How I actually earn my money is helping people monetize their movements, to be able to do their purpose full time, abundantly, not in the path of poverty. And it's really about taking their area of expertise and turning that essentially into a religion. Right? A religion where they have their own Bible or beliefs about their area of expertise, where they have their own commandments, where they have their own, I don't call them sinners, they have their own winners that they're seeking to support on this journey, where they have their own baptism, which is like an early commitment, an easy commitment that promises a lot, right? That gets people into the door and into their tribe. And then they have their new members class, how they indoctrinate people in a positive way, not in a manipulative way, but through education and sharing of information. And then finally, of course, their altar call, which is an invitation to perhaps 2% of the people that follow them to work with them at a deeper level so that they can get the result faster, so that they can get from point A to point B faster, safer, and easier than if they would go alone. When you have something that you know can help other people, you actually have a moral obligation to sell it. If you had the cure to cancer, you would be trying to get on every single TV station. You would be putting billboards and posters and running Facebook ads to every potential cancer patient out there, right? And the truth is that you are the cure to someone's cancer. It may not be the cancer that it weakens your immune system, but you know how to help people with their personal finances. You know how to help people get out of debt. You know how to help people with time management. You know how to help people heal their marriages. You know how to help people overcome trauma. You know how to help people automate their businesses. You know how to help people improve their health. These are all different cancers that you have the solution to. And if you are just hiding because you're afraid to put yourself out there, there are people literally waiting on you and missing out on your solution, and therefore still suffering and struggling. And so I help purpose-driven entrepreneurs overcome that fear of putting themselves out there, that fear of selling, thinking that selling is sleazy. The way I think about selling is simply the process of getting someone to accept help. Sales is simply the process of getting someone to accept help, and these are things that I learned along the way. And I actually just celebrated my 10-year anniversary of doing this work. I quit my job on January 9th, 2009, at the bottom of the economic recession. You can go look at the S&P 500 over the past 66 years. Literally, that was like the worst week of the S&P 500 in the past 66 years. And I quit my job because I was pulled by my purpose. I knew that there was something greater for me, and I wasn't going to let external circumstances actually stop me from stepping into what God had called me to do. And I've been able to ride that wave up. If you look at the stock market since then, it's been up, and I've been able to ride that in an amazing way and touch, and not just touch, but transform a lot of lives. I'm not just into touching lives. Information like this on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, this touches lives, but in order to really transform a life, I literally got to get my hands into your business and life, and in more so into your thought patterns. The underground, Harriet Tubman is my inspiration, and she freed about 300 people during her lifetime, and that's my goal, is to free 300 people. But the new Underground Railroad is actually a train of thought. Of course, the original Underground Railroad was never a train, right? It was a network of people and safe houses. But today's Underground Railroad is a train of thought, and that train of thought will lead you to freedom. We just have incorrect thoughts about a lot of things, like salary being income when it's not income, right? A single-family home being an asset. At the best, it's a savings account, but it's not a true asset because it's never putting money into your bank account, right? So we have all these ideas and thoughts that are incorrect, and when your thought life is wrong, when you're thinking about the world that you see incorrectly, it's actually shaping how you act and behave, and therefore what you ultimately manifest. And so again, it starts with mental freedom, but everybody wants to skip that step, and they just want to go seek the highest paying job in hopes that gets them free, and then they get greater and greater pay, and they wonder why they're still not free. Is because their mental game is not on point, right? Now the financial game is on point, and that's helpful, but it's mental freedom, then financial freedom, then time freedom. That's the path that I've actually gone about to acquire what I call full freedom. You can have one or the other, but you ultimately want full freedom. And so this has been my journey. This has been my journey, and it's been an exciting one, and this is my life's work. This is my life's work. It's not a trend for me. This is my life's work. It's helping people get paid for their purpose. Purpose can't be something that you just do in the evenings as a nonprofit volunteer type thing. I believe that we are actually meant to live out our purpose every single day. Though I am restricting my work hours to Monday through Friday, my purpose is kind of in my being. Like, I might bump into somebody at the grocery store and just start ask a question that gets them to think differently about their purpose. Or I might give them one of my books, or like the 8-Cylinder Success, which is my first book. I might give that to them. When it's your life's work, you're doing it all the time, even if you're not actually at the office. It just comes naturally to you. It's who you are, and like I said, you're guaranteed to succeed at that. So this has been my journey, and if you love for me to continue to share things with you that I've learned, especially these mindset shifts, go ahead and just comment below. Let me know where you're at on your journey, where you feel stuck, and I'll probably create a video about it or give you a tool. One tool that I am going to give you is what I call the cash flow framework. And since everybody wants to start with the money piece, I have this way that I actually manage my money called the cash flow framework, and I want to give it to you for absolutely free. It's a powerful, like, 30-minute plus training and a online worksheet to help you actually think about what you do with your money when you do get it, how that money is actually working for you even when you're asleep. So I encourage you to check that out. I think that'll be helpful for you to get started. But again, it starts with mental freedom first, then financial freedom, and then time freedom. So I hope my journey has blessed you, and I hope this time that I've shared has blessed you, and I hope that I actually get to bless you by continuing to share more and more of my life. This is God's work for me, and this is what I feel like I'm called to do. So again, I'm grateful for your time. Thank you for listening to my story, and I look forward to sharing more. All right, much love, y'all. Peace.